Our next speaker is Assemblymember Rocky Chavez.
Well, I'm happy to be here because let's be right up front what this is all about. Prop 63 is an issue that Newsom wants to use to become the next governor of California. It has nothing to do with safety in the community. Why do I say that? Well, on the last day of the sessions a few weeks ago, on the Assembly, the discussion that was coming forward when all these bills that were coming through, the different bills to restrict our Second Amendment rights, the back discussion on the floor was, well, isn't that a Newsom bill? Isn't that working with him? And then some of the Democrats would say, well, really, we want to take away his thunder for running for governor. Because actually within the Democratic Party, there's this division. They're both trying to take this issue because it's their belief that Californians are fearful of weapons. And that's not the truth. I had the opportunity to speak in the Assembly floor, and there was one gentleman, Assembly member, who had brought forward this picture of a rifle from the 1700s, and he was saying, this is what the weapon was when the Second Amendment was established, and is no longer characteristic or relevant to what we live today. I had to highlight to him, I said, actually that weapon you have was cutting edge because at the time rifles were there, one of the biggest problems they had was keeping the powder dry. And that rifle was designed to keep the powder dry to ensure that the weapon worked correctly. But that's not really what the issue is, the technology on how many magazines or the cycle rate of a rifle. What the issue is the right of the individual to protect himself against government. And I challenged them all. I said, think about it. 2 years ago, we had a Twitter war going on to save our girls from Boko Haram. When they came in and took those girls away, and I think, what's the number, 2 or 3 have only been found, do you think their fathers would have liked to have the right to defend their daughters? We don't have Boko Haram here because you know why? We can defend our daughters. I'll share with you a short story. A few years ago, I live in a homeowners association in Oceanside, a small little group homes, about 120. And somebody moved in, rented a property to a series of gang members. And it relates to what happened here yesterday. These gang members came in and were starting to sell drugs. They're out in the streets making noise. And this is kind of a nice little quiet community. So the homeowner association president called a meeting and we were to address this. So we meet in a garage. This wonderful lady in about her 70s had a little card table in her garage, and we all sat in these little lawn chairs as what could we do to deal with these people who have come in our community. And while we were doing this, 3 large gentlemen come walking in there from that house in a very threatening way, went up to this lady and said, "What are you doing?" Imagine this. A bunch of residents sitting in the garage on their lawn chairs, a lady at a card table, about 70 years old, and 3 large threatening individuals saying, "What are you doing?" I stood up and I said, what we're doing is we're going to work on getting you out of our community. And the guy stepped up to me and he goes, and I stopped him and I said, "Do you know who I am?" And he goes, "I know exactly who you are, and I know where you live." And I said, "That's fine. Then you need to also know this. I have a gun in my house, and if you come to me, I will make sure that I take care of you." That's what protection is. Now, we called the police, we worked in the community, and those people are gone. Did the police help us? Yes, they did. But at the time that individual was threatening us in that garage, it was just us citizens. And the mere fact that those people knew that we could defend ourselves, because I'm sure as he figured out later, in our little community, probably about 80% of us are retired Marines, and every one of us have the capability to protect ourselves. They're gone. That's what the Second Amendment's about. It's not about worrying about criminals. Criminals, we have laws for. Criminals should be dealt with. Gang members are terrible people dealing with drugs and trafficking human beings. They need to be dealt with, and the San Diego police officers are doing exactly their job, and sadly, they paid the price on dealing with these criminals. That does not deal with law-abiding citizens who want to live safely. And as I said on the assembly floor, you think the Second Amendment doesn't apply to us today? Ask the people in Boko Haram what they think about them. Ask the people in Syria as they're moving through Europe, because their own government is bombing them and shooting them and raping them. That doesn't happen in the United States because we have the Second Amendment. We have the ability to defend ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot let Gavin Newsom take one of the cherished rights we have in our country of the Second Amendment to allow him to become the governor of California. If he wants to become the governor, fine, but don't do it on the back of our freedoms. Thank you.
Without someone doing something about it, it's not going to get any better.